Okay, are we on?
Yeah, you're on.
And thank you very much for your very warm applause after the film. What I would like to do now is just, it would be very helpful for me to hear questions from you, things that maybe were confusing or any questions you might have that could help us. This is a work in progress screening. We are still adapting the film to audiences to make sure we're getting our message across. And so, any questions you have? Yes. And do we have a mic to go around? Should we just use this one?
I think they
Just speak loud.
Speak loud, yes.
Okay.
And stand up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm the first one to ask a question, and I'm a psychiatrist in this company, so I'm a little bit embarrassed. Maybe. I worked a lot in the crisis therapy, in the crisis center with families too. And what I was thinking about, because the madness was clearly talked about, but family members, well, they are a little bit on the background. And what I often see in people who tell about their madness, that they talk about also the traumas. But I think maybe it was a little bit touched, but maybe there is another trauma that is not so recognized nor in this company, but also not in psychiatry, that as a child you can offer your personality to care for your family. And maybe this Dave is the main person in the film. Adam, yes, in the main person. I thought about, well, that's typical. I've seen a lot of people at young age caring for the family to be a beautiful person whom everybody is attached to, and then they are not they're not integrating their bad parts, because everybody has to integrate bad parts as a human being. And you have to do infighting with your family and have a nasty behavior. And some people are giving that up. And maybe I think it's very important that this film is also acceptable for family members when you maybe give more words to family members, and maybe this hypothesis I have is doing justice also for family members and people who have madness. Maybe it's more acceptable also for family members. We definitely have a lack of theory that also serves family members.
Yeah. You know, in terms of Adam wanting to help his family,
yeah.
I mean, he comes up with this equation to help families' problems.
Yeah.
And his mom says it made sense to him, but of course to no one else. You know, it's just like, we're just not trained to be open to things that are outside of what we normally hear.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is you would like to see more family members interviewed in the film?
Yes, and also maybe, well, I would have, when I would have Adam in the first psychosis, when he was making those formulas, writing those formulas,
right.
I would have liked to ask him, what is going on in your family that you want to help be people to help for.
Exactly,
And it's done in open dialogue.
right.
So
And it isn't done in our culture that much.
absolutely not.
We're just starting to learn about open dialogue, but yes, very much important for the family to be involved. And unfortunately, the way this film ends with Adam moving in with his dad is still grieving the loss of his wife.
Yeah.
I mean, he really loved his wife. And Adam being there in his precarious state, still getting over what he had just gone through, it's been very hard for them. And they were trying to do it without any help. And my thought was the same. If they had included the family, I mean, instead of, Adam, you're sick,
Yes.
we need to take care of you, and isolate him as the problem, was the problem with our society and the way we looked at it. Yeah. Yes.
My experience, I have been
I'm going to pass this around. Will it?
I keep it short, but it's okay. I'm a psychotherapist, 40 years already, no, psychologist, psychotherapist shorter. But I experienced the last years, the more deeper I went myself, the more I start seeing that the problems often are in our first 4 years of life. For instance, a birth, or when a baby is born like that and is in a couveuse, or is not accepting the mother milk, and it happens something in the body, but there's no language. So the problems. I think a lot of the problems with people I deal with traumata, is that traumata are not in the age where the language is. So the traumata is in the body, it's felt in the body, but they don't have words to describe it. And so after that, when I start more and more to examine the first 4 years of people, and then I see that, for instance, a baby was allergic to mother milk, and then the relationship got also bad. But the first trauma is in the body, and they try to find language, but there isn't language because it's only the body language.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, what you show us, the shamanic things, they are so in the body. They are body healing methods, so they can come to that level.
Right.
Understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's something, I saw in the movie also, that the holding of other people, I call it in my therapy now, kangarooing, being a kangaroo, being in the, and it gets first the milk of the first nipple, and then from the next nipple, and then taking, so I'm showing them with pictures, so that's what we are going to do from the one nipple to the other, until you're grown up, so, and that you want to go out of it. So I think that's the therapy for those deeply wounded people.
Yeah.
Very simple.
I know that, like breath work and other things other than, higher consciousness work and words and psychotherapy are becoming very popular in the United States right now. Stan Grof's work is very popular. Any other questions? Yes.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
My name is Wouter.
Roger.
Thank you for the movie. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's beautiful, I think. Can I buy a DVD?
That's you can, and this is my first feature-length documentary. I did a lot of human rights documentaries, very short ones. So I'm just learning the whole distribution model now. And what my hope for is to gain the most impact we can with this film. And so we've hired an impact producer that is telling us when we can release each thing. So we're starting with community screenings because we think we can get the most impact that way. So if anybody wants to organize a community screening or knows somebody does, please get in touch with me. I'm going to also pass around a clipboard if you want to be on our mailing list of the Crazywise newsletter, and we'll let you know when that release of the DVD is coming out. But she's having us wait until we do some community screenings first and get it into the educational realm, into the universities. She says it's very important to get that done first. So I'll pass the board around, and I wish I could answer that right now, but it will be within 4 to 5 months that it'll be available. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking that. Here we go. So anybody have questions, can you come up?
Yeah, come up to the
Just come on
front.
up here.
Yeah, this is the back.
This cord is very short.
Thank you for the movie. I was very impressed mainly by the stress you make of the people the movie make on the importance of staying part of the community.
Yeah.
With the community, if you stay part and not are pushed out of the community,
Yeah.
that's so fundamental for recovery.
Right.
But at the same time, I thought, isn't there in this movie a danger that you go to the other side, that you tend to idealize the idea that every psychosis is a spiritual awakening? I've seen it in the movie, to try to balance it, but I did miss it, the other voices, psychiatrists who stress also the importance of medicine. Because if you want to investigate and explore the meaning of what you... But I'm a pastor or religious spiritual counselor in psychiatry, but I experience the moment you are able to talk and reflect upon your experiences. My important experience is that medicine does help to give you the ability to reflect on those experiences. I wonder how you feel about that.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, and we were asked this, we screened this in Basel, Switzerland to a big mental health conference, which in Basel is the heart of the pharmaceutical industry. So I was very, kind of with trepidation. But what I said is, this movie is about alternatives, and it isn't a movie about it isn't a journalistic piece about a balanced portrayal. That would be another movie, and I think that would be a valuable movie. And everybody we interviewed, everybody said medications have a place and can help in this process. They're being way overprescribed, especially to children in the I can speak about the United States because I know that most. And that's our problem with the medications. And our big problem is it's a one-size-fits-all right now. That is the default. That's what we go to first. And so we wanted to present alternatives to the default solution. And that's what this movie is. If it were a balanced piece, it would be twice as long, and I think it's too long now. So.
Hello, I'm a teacher for social work bachelor students. I brought 9 students.
Wow.
They sent me up to go here, so I was...
They had you come.
Yeah, they had me come. No, I invited them to come here, but they said I had to come up here, because I say you have to show this movie to our entire school. Every student has to see this.
Wow.
So, the directors, so of the direction of the school, but I think they are okay. But every student has to see this, so please come.
Yeah, and we'll get that, and we very much want to get this into the universities and high schools.
Yes, high school.
Yeah, and this is a high school you're speaking.
Yes, but no,
This is university.
of Applied Science, bachelor, social work.
Oh, okay.
So, Applied Science.
All right.
That's
Yeah, so you will get my card,
Yes.
and we'll make sure you get a,
I suggest you take two questions and then answer both. Okay? You take both of those questions.
I was very curious about there are some elements in the shamanistic process, like the
is it?
Yeah, that's good enough? So I was very curious, there are some elements in the shamanistic process, like the feeling of dying or the hearing of voices. And it's similar to a psychotic process, but also ayahuasca, for example. And I'm really curious, more about those elements. So maybe if you want to have some input about next movie or whatever. I would be very curious about that more. Yeah.
About the symptoms that a shaman had?
Yes, and in a psychotic process and ayahuasca, for example, those are very similar, like spiritual waking up. And I'm really curious about more of those elements. What are the similarities?
Yeah. Yeah, and so am I. You know, I've interviewed maybe 35 or 40 of these people we call shaman. They go by different names in their communities. And almost everybody was selected in their community by having a crisis. It was like a crisis of some type. Sometimes it was a physical crisis. They had just a very strong sickness of some sort. But most often it was a mental emotional crisis. And it was, they started hearing voices or having visions, and they weren't sure what was happening. In some cases, they had been around it enough that they knew and they weren't as frightened. But many of them told me they were terrified. Just like the Dalai Lama's oracle, the state oracle of Tibet. And they describe it in various ways in terms of having personality changes, delusions as we call them, visions, hearing things. And the question is, how is it similar to a psychotic process here?
Yeah, I'd like to learn more about also the feeling of dying, for example. That struck me a lot.
Yes.
I had the same experience, and a lot of people I know as well.
Yeah, and I heard that a lot.
Yeah.
And in a way, so I'm trying to put it together in my head too. And that's why I love talking to people who've had experience. But I've always thought of it as you are literally dying in your personality. It's changing to another worldview, really.
Yeah.
And so your old worldview is dying and the new one is being born. And the problem seems to be, if you're in a culture that doesn't understand that, if your parents don't understand it, if your community doesn't, then it becomes pathologized. And the very poison of a mental health at that point in time is non-acceptance and isolation. And when you get isolated, like one of the interviewees said, healing takes place in community. It's about relationships. It's about the relationship. To me, spirituality is relationships. Relationship to yourself, relationship to others, relationship to the natural world. And the more you're isolated and cut off from relationships, the more damage can be done to you during that period of time. But yes, I'm myself, and I'm waiting to hear from Isabel to learn more about it. Yeah.
If we can take the last question rather rapidly.
Thank you very much for the movie, and I think the message is quite clear, and a lot of people can use it on very different subjects, from family to if you have to take medicine or whatever. Thank you very much. Really very nice.
Thank you.
My question was about the last phrase of the movie, when you say that it's between crazy and wise, the spectrum. I didn't like that so much. I think you have to incorporate craziness in wisdom.
Pardon me?
Crazy should be part of wisdom,
Yes.
not a spectrum.
Okay, okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, I felt uneasy about that too.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe it helps.
So maybe I will change that one. Yeah. I was trying to be cute and tricky. Didn't work.
I liked it. I did like it.
How many liked it? How many didn't like it?
I liked it.
Going through the crazy divide. Like it? Did not like it.
That's why repeat what you said. Repeat what you said.
The line was, if I can remember it in detail, if you tend to take time to listen to these people that we have diagnosed as being crazy, we might find that we're all on the spectrum from crazy to wise. In other words, I liked what Gabor Mate said. He said this myth of normal, that they're the crazy and we're the normal, that we're really all on this spectrum. We all have these feelings of some sort.
As far as I remember, Phil, you said you're all on the road between crazy.
We're all on the path between crazy and wise.
So I think that's what you said.
You like that or not like that?
That's true.
Confusion.
Did you hear?
Okay, thank you so much, Phil. We got